The healing powers that are in the body that seal a cut, that heal a broken bone, and look, my wrist is healed now. Do you know what an orthopaedic surgeon said to me one day? He said, we can set a bone, we can't heal it. That is true. It's the body and the body alone that can heal. Germs don't cause disease. They're the result of unhealthful conditions. And the CDC, the Centre of Disease Control, they have stated that got that figure? 99% of people that get COVID recover. Did you hear that? So what's the problem? The ones that go down are the ones that have pre-existing health conditions.
Did you know that mould exposure can have serious effects on your health, even if you don't see it growing in your home? Research shows that around 70% of homes have some level of mould, and over 25% of people are genetically susceptible to mould-related illnesses. Mould and other fungi release tiny spores into the air, which can trigger allergies, respiratory issues, and even long-term neurological damage. But if you think mould only causes minor irritation, think again. Some types produce toxic compounds called mycotoxins, which have been linked to chronic fatigue, memory loss, and severe lung infections. So what diseases are caused by mould exposure, and how can you protect yourself from these hidden dangers? Stay tuned as we break down the real impact of mould on your health and what you can do to stay safe.
And microorganisms, as the name implies, are microscopic. Organism means that they are living. Microscopic means you cannot see it with the naked eye. And these microorganisms are everywhere. They're in the air we're breathing, they're on every surface area, they're on our skin, they're in our body. We have 100 trillion cells in the body, and there are 10 times more microorganisms in the body than cells, and there are 10 times more microorganisms in the gastrointestinal tract than anywhere else in the body. They're everywhere. They're part of life. In fact, as some claim, they are life. So they're everywhere. And whenever cell damage happens, these microorganisms have the ability to change roles. And when you think about it, we change roles. We change roles all through life. I'm not dressed now the way I'm dressed when I'm in Thailand. It's hot. I'm not dressed now the way I'm dressed when I'm sleeping at night. I'm not dressed now the way I'm dressed when I'm digging in the garden. I'm not dressed now the way I was dressed 2 weeks ago when Michael and I went to our daughter's wedding. We change roles, and we change roles according to the environment, and so do the microorganisms. And whenever cell damage happens, they change roles. They now become, as what one microbiologist said to me, we call them the garbage collectors, or you could call them the cleanup team. The garbage collectors are taking away the garbage, or you could call it the trash or the rubbish. And their name is bacteria. That's what bacteria is, that's what it does. As the environment changes, so do they change. They now become the exterminators. So the name of the exterminators, this is the yeast, this is the fungus, and also another one that needs a host, like the yeast and the fungus do, a virus. As the environment changes, so do they. They now become the undertakers. What do the undertakers do? They take away dead things. And the name of the undertakers is mould. And that's what mould does. And what mould does, it's part of the cycle that brings matter back to dust. And what I have drawn for you here is the cycle of life. And the cycle of life is a cycle that brings matter back to dust. What I have drawn for you here is just the cycle of life. And the cycle of life states nothing is created, nothing's destroyed. It just changes form. And what does the preacher say at the funeral? Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. What's he referring to? He's referring to what's about to happen in the coffin. The matter is about to be brought back to dust. It's the carbon cycle or the cycle of life. Understanding this is paramount. It's essential in understanding what the true cause of disease is. Louis Pasteur made the theory famous in about the mid-1800s that germs cause disease. Florence Nightingale, very famous nurse from the same time, he was in France, she was in England. She said, this is the theory of a man of a very unstable mind. And anyone who believes it is equally unstable, germs don't cause disease, they're the result. They're the result of unhealthful conditions.
Germs, as Florence Nightingale pointed out, do not cause disease. They are a byproduct of unhealthy conditions within the body. This idea shifts the focus from treating the symptoms to addressing the root causes of poor health. The environment in which we live, both internally and externally, plays a significant role in the development of illness. If our bodies are in an unhealthy state, whether due to poor nutrition, stress, or lack of exercise, these microorganisms will begin to thrive and multiply. They take on different roles depending on the situation, sometimes acting as a cleanup crew to deal with cell damage, and other times as agents that facilitate the breakdown of dead cells.
There are a few theories on a virus, but the fact is a virus can't survive by itself, it needs a host. And there is another microorganism that has a similar function, and that is yeast and fungus. They need a host. And so there are some trains of thought that are saying a virus, a yeast and a fungus are maybe the same thing because they are so similar, they need a host. And they are also part of the microorganisms that act like the scavengers. They're opportunist organisms. They will only survive where they get a lot of food. So what is the yeast and funguses, the virus's favourite food? Sugar and other yeasts. So to make sure that we are living in a body where these cannot really survive long, or in a body where they are in their right proportion, it's important to give the body the right conditions for healing. We live in a self-healing, self-cleansing organism. And one of the most important things to clean is what you clean your house with, what you clean your clothes with, what you wash your dishes with, and that is water. It's very important to drink adequate water, because when you drink adequate water, your body has the ingredients that it needs to fulfill its role of a self-cleansing, self-healing organism. One of the ways one might be able to determine if there's a yeast, fungus, virus present in their body is the tongue. The tongue should be pink from the tip to the back, but if they're a little white, there's a white coating on the back of the tongue that cannot be scraped off. If you can scrape off the white coating, it is waste coming out of the tongue. If you cannot scrape off the white coating at the back of the tongue, they are little fungus buds. What are some of the symptoms that the yeast or fungus might be present in your body? Probably the most common symptoms are jock itch, athlete's foot, which is also called tinea, anal itch. Where does yeast, fungus, mold like to live in your house? In the dark, moist areas. Same with the body, between the toes, under the arm, in the groin, in those areas. Also even up in the sinus areas. And so to make sure that your body is able to deal with these and bring a proper balance back in the body, it is important to drink adequate water. It is important not to be taking the refined sugar, and if you do take sugar, it should be in the form of your natural sugars like honey, maple syrup, fruits, but in low amounts.
The human body was designed to heal itself, and it will heal itself when you give it the right conditions.
The presence of microorganisms like bacteria, yeast and mold is not inherently harmful. In fact, they are essential for maintaining balance within our ecosystem and in our bodies. The problem arises when there is an imbalance in our environment, internally or externally, that disrupts the natural order of things. This imbalance can create the perfect conditions for pathogens to flourish and cause harm. So, instead of focusing on eradicating germs, we need to focus on creating an environment where our bodies and the microorganisms that inhabit them can live in harmony. This is where lifestyle changes and holistic health practices come into play. Eating nutrient-dense foods, exercising regularly, managing stress, and maintaining good hygiene are all essential factors in creating a healthy internal environment. These actions can help prevent the imbalances that lead to disease and allow our body's natural defense mechanisms to function optimally. By restoring balance, we allow the beneficial microorganisms in our body to continue their essential roles like digestion and immune support without being overwhelmed by harmful pathogens.
You see, mold waste in medical terms is called a mycotoxin. What's a toxin? It's a poison. And when you think about it, these microorganisms, they have the ability to adapt and adjust. So if bacteria is out of control, let's say someone's got, we're called urinary tract infection. So someone has a urinary tract infection. There's bacteria in their urine, so they're given an antibiotic. Yes, that kills the bacteria. 3 weeks later, another urinary tract infection. Go back to the doctor, another course of antibiotics. And I know Jacqueline was telling me her stories. She wasn't drinking enough water. This is years ago. She was living on junk, and antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic for urinary tract infection. Does that make any sense? See, what happens is, you put the antibiotic there, it kills the bacteria, but some of the bacteria actually adapt and adjust and get stronger and become immune to the antibiotics. And that's what the World Health Organization claimed, that the biggest health care risk today is the overuse of antibiotics, to the point that there are some people that are becoming immune to antibiotics. So when they are needed, they're actually not working. Before I was banned in Australia in July 2019, there were 4 doctors that used to get me to go to their town and give health meetings, because they knew if the average person knew how to look after their body, the simple things that can be done to bring about healing, then the nurses and the doctors wouldn't be overrun in emergency. So they particularly got me to go to their towns to teach the people how their bodies work, to teach the people how to look after their bodies, to teach the people that the human body has been designed by God to heal itself. We just need the right conditions. Unfortunately, many people are not aware of those conditions. And when you give the body the right conditions, these microorganisms, yes, they'll be in your body, but they'll be playing the proper role. But whenever cell damage happens, whenever waste builds up in the body, then the cleanup team has to start working. And if the person treads on a rusty nail, don't stop and look at it for days. It'll get big, it'll get red, it'll get swollen, there'll be pus and there'll be pain. No, just start doing the hot and colds. Put a grated potato poultice on it every night, which will draw it out. And then there'll be no need to go to emergency. There'll be no need to take the drugs, because as soon as it happened, you started to work on that straight away. This is what people did a couple of 100 years ago, is that right? But unfortunately, it was all lumped together with things like bloodletting. Yes, we know that bloodletting, well, that doesn't actually make any sense, does it? Why let out the blood when the blood is the life of the flesh? But we've come to a time on planet Earth where a lot of people are being challenged and getting frustrated with the fact that medicine is actually not working. And they're looking at alternatives. And some people stop going to the doctor and stop taking the drug, and they'll go to the naturopath and just want the herbal tablet. But no, the herbal tablet isn't the healer, it's the body that's the healer when it's given the right conditions.
And when the body is given the right conditions, healing happens naturally. The human body is incredibly intelligent. It knows how to repair itself, how to fight infections, how to cleanse and rebuild. But when people rely only on quick fixes, like drugs or surgeries, without addressing the root cause, they interfere with the body's natural ability to heal. Think about it. When someone gets a fever, the body is raising its temperature to kill off harmful invaders. But instead of letting the fever do its job, many people immediately take medication to bring it down. The same goes for inflammation. Inflammation is the body's way of responding to injury or infection. Yet people are quick to take anti-inflammatory drugs without considering why the inflammation is happening in the first place. This is why lifestyle is so important. What we eat, how we sleep, the stress we carry, all of it impacts our health. A diet full of processed foods, sugar and chemicals burdens the body. Lack of sleep weakens the immune system. Chronic stress floods the body with harmful hormones. And when people live this way for years, they end up with chronic diseases, heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune conditions. But when they change their lifestyle, when they eat whole, natural foods, drink pure water, move their body and get sunlight and fresh air, miracles happen. Blood pressure normalizes, blood sugar stabilizes, energy returns, and pain disappears. The body starts functioning the way it was designed to. People often ask, what about genetics? While genetics play a role, they do not determine everything. Your daily habits have a far greater impact on your health than the genes you were born with. You are not doomed to suffer just because your parents had a disease. You have the power to influence your health through the choices you make every day. Healing is not about suppressing symptoms, it's about addressing the root cause and restoring balance. The body is always working for you, not against you. Give it what it needs and it will take care of you. Mold is more than just an eyesore, it can seriously impact your health. From allergies to chronic illnesses, its effects can be long-lasting. But the good news is, there are ways to protect yourself. Keep your home dry, improve ventilation, and take mold exposure seriously. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more health insights. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next one.